Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani class vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's important stories. Today we track Malawi's presidential race as Peter Mutharika edges ahead of Lazarus Chakwera in the election. In Chad, proposed constitutional reforms spark criticism over potential term limit removal. South Sudan faces renewed tension as Riek Machar appears in court on treason charges. Egypt pardons activist Alaa Abd El-Fattah following years of imprisonment, while Botswana celebrates a historic relay victory with a public holiday. Zimbabwean viewers will get a full report on current affairs and sport. When we say Zimbabwean viewers, we actually mean all of Africa. But the report is coming from Zimbabwe, delivered by Talent Gore with the latest in current affairs and sport. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub on YouTube, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube is where you can always find Africa Good Morning. My name is Ashwin Betty. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly. Malawi's former president, Peter Mutharika, has surged ahead of incumbent Lazarus Chakwera in the country's high-stakes presidential election, according to provisional results released by the Electoral Commission. Tallies from 24 of Malawi's 36 councils, two-thirds of the total, show Mutharika, 85, securing about 66% of valid votes, while Chakwera, 70, trails with roughly 24%. Reuters calculations are indicating this. The polls held on September 16 come as Malawians grapple with severe economic strain marked by over 3 years of inflation above 20%, compounded by a devastating cyclone and prolonged regional drought that destroyed crops and deepened food insecurity. Mutharika, a former law professor who led the country between 2014 and 2020, is remembered for infrastructure improvements and stabilizing inflation, though critics accused him of cronyism, allegations he has consistently denied. Chakwera, once a pastor, swept into power in 2020 on an anti-graft platform after Mutharika's 2019 win was annulled by the Constitutional Court over irregularities, including the use of correction fluid on tally sheets. The commission has until September 24 to finalize results, stressing rigorous verification to prevent premature declarations. Chad is on the brink of removing presidential term limits after the lower house of parliament approved sweeping constitutional reforms, a move that critics say risks undermining democracy and consolidating power for President Mahamat Idris Deby. The amendments, passed overwhelmingly by 171 out of 188 lawmakers, extend the presidential term from 5 to 7 years and allow unlimited renewals, with the Senate set to vote on the final version on October 13 before presidential enactment. Opposition figures, including Malum Yoboide-Geraki of the Social Democratic Party and former Prime Minister Albert Pahimi Padake, warned the changes represent a departure from democratic norms and a burial of democracy, claiming the process was presented as a technical revision but proved to be a profound overhaul. The reform favors Deby, who seized power in 2021 following his father's death and won a disputed election in 2024, consolidating ruling party dominance. Analysts suggest dissenting voices are dwindling, making long-term power entrenchment likely. Government officials maintain the reform is a normal technical procedure endorsed by legal experts. The debate highlights Chad's tense political climate amid ongoing concerns over democratic integrity as well as leadership succession. South Sudan's suspended first Vice President Riek Machar appeared in court as treason charges reopened wounds from the nation's civil war, raising fears of renewed conflict. Machar, under house arrest since March, and 7 allies, including the petroleum minister, are accused of murder, treason, and crimes against humanity linked to Nuer-dominated White Army raids in the northeast. Machar's lawyer, Gary Raimondo Lej, argued the court lacked jurisdiction, asserting that Machar retained immunity as vice president and should be discharged immediately. The government, through prosecutor Ajo Onyo Ohisa Igele, dismissed these arguments as weak, claiming Machar supported the militia during clashes in Nasir, which displaced over 80,000 people and killed dozens. Media access was restricted as Machar appeared in public for the first time since his house arrest, wearing a dark suit and cobalt blue tie behind black bars. The trial adds strain to the fragile unity government, with President Salva Kiir highlighting the enduring tensions between Machar's newer forces and Kiir's Dinka allies. Machar, a former Bush rebel leader, and Kiir, both in their 70s, share a history of turbulent relations dating back more than 3 decades, making the trial a flashpoint for national stability. Moving on. Egyptian-British activist Alaa Abd El-Fattah has been granted a pardon by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi following years of imprisonment and repeated hunger strikes that drew global attention. Abd El-Fattah, 43, became a prominent political prisoner known for his outspoken criticism of crackdowns on dissidents under Sisi, spending much of his adult life in and out of detention. His case drew significant local and international campaigns, including efforts during Egypt's COP27 climate summit in 2022 and lobbying by his mother, Laila Soif, who met British Prime Minister Keir Starmer earlier this year. His name had been removed from Egypt's terrorism list months prior, paving the way for the pardon. Abd El-Fattah, who obtained British citizenship in 2021 through his mother, comes from a family of activists and intellectuals who persistently advocated for his release. And in the last of our top stories, Botswana declared a public holiday to honor its team's gold medal in the men's 4x400 relay at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, marking the first African win in the event. Colin Kebina-Chipi delivered a thrilling final leg in driving rain, securing victory ahead of the United States and South Africa, while also claiming the individual 400 meters crown. President Duma Boko announced the holiday on September 29, just before the nation's Independence Day, to recognize Kebini-Chipi and teammates Bekemp Ilo, Epi, Letile Teboho, and Bayapo Ndori. The win follows Tebogo's 2024 Olympic gold in Paris, which earned the country a half-day holiday, underscoring Botswana's rising prominence in athletics. President Boko celebrated the athletes as national treasures, remarking that Botswana's diamonds shine not just in the ground, but also on the world stage. The victory has united the country in celebration, highlighting sports as a symbol of national pride and achievement. The team's success in Tokyo resonates beyond athletics, offering inspiration and reinforcing Botswana's growing reputation in international competition, while sparking public enthusiasm and government recognition for sporting excellence. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be joined by Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. But prior to that, it's the weather. As promised, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. Talent Wamkase.
Africa.
Tamuka Hedu, and we absolutely love the new hairstyle. Let's get straight into your first story, Talent. We're talking about sanctions. As with strings attached, United States weighs the repeal of ZDERA.
Yes, a bill introduced in the United States Congress could repeal the two-decade-old Zimbabwe Democracy and Economic Recovery Act, ZDERA, a law that has long restricted Zimbabwe's access to international credit. But while the move has been welcomed in Harare as a breakthrough, economic cooperations with the U.S. would still hinge on Zimbabwe settling the continuous issue of compensating white former commercial farmers. The bill, tabled by Republican Congressman Brian Must, chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, proposes the Department of State Policy Provisions Act, a wide-ranging omnibus law covering U.S. foreign policy priorities. Among its provisions is a proposal to drop ZDERA, which was first enacted in 2001 and amended in 2018. Must says this bill seeks to prevent ideologies masquerading as diplomats from using their posts to push left-wing agendas instead of America's interests, while also repositioning Washington's engagement in Africa. Recovered, if passed, if passed, the bill would end ZDERA's restriction on Zimbabwe. However, it sets a tough new condition. The United States would oppose any new World Bank or IMF funding for Zimbabwe unless the government pays all arrears owed under the 3.5 billion United States dollars global compensation deed signed with white farmers in 2020. Zimbabwe agreed in 2020 to compensate farmers for improvements on seized farms and not the land itself. Treasury has since issued USD denominated bonds to finance the deal, but actual cash payments have been slow. So the Zimbabwean government is supposed to pay, but the actual cash payment, since they agreed on those terms, have been slow.
All right, Talent, moving on. Two Zimbabwe Revenue Authority employees allegedly stole $6.3 million from the tax authority, the court has heard.
Yes, two senior Zimbabwe Revenue Authority employees have appeared in court facing charges of defrauding the tax collector of more than 171 million ZiG, which is roughly around 6 million and 6 million United States dollars and 37,200 United States dollars through a sophisticated cyber fraud scheme. Shupikai Mary Nicola Marongwe, who's 52, a database administrator from Waterfalls, and Paradzai Mutasa, who's 35, a systems developer from Hatfield, were remanded in custody for bail hearing following their brief appearance before the magistrate courts. Both were public officers at Zimra. Zimra is the tax collector entrusted with administering and securing the institution's critical tax system. Prosecutors told the court that the two masterminded the scam during the rollout of the Zimbabwe Electronic Single Window Project, designed to streamline permits, license, and customs processing. The scam allowed clearing agents to process import clearances without paying duty, while the accused collected hard cash from the agents and pocketed it. Investigations revealed that the fraud bled Zimra of over 6 million United States dollars in local currency, and nothing has been recovered. So the duo is going to appear for bail hearing on Friday to hear what the courts have to say in terms of them being granted bail. But the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority has since lost over 6 million during the process of that fraud. So we're just going to hear what the courts are going to say on Friday in terms of the two being granted bail. But as of now, they are in police custody.
All right, Talent, moving on. I understand Zimbabwe is facing a cyclone threat.
Yes, apparently, according to the meteorological department, Zimbabwe is likely to experience tropical cyclone in the 2025-2026 rainfall season, with the Meteorological Service Department calling on communities in flood-prone areas to heed warnings from the Department of Civil Protection. According to the Feminine Early Warning System Network, for the period between October 2025 and March 2026, a weak La Nina is expected and is likely to bring normal to above normal rainfall across the country. The weather patterns will increase the risk of flooding and waterlogging in areas that usually experience floods, with forecasts showing high chances of tropical cyclone in southern Africa. The cyclones may mainly affect the eastern part of Zimbabwe. And the meteorological department also revealed that a delayed erratic start with initial dry conditions in October to November is expected, while prospects will improve nationally from December onwards, though northern areas may dry out again later in the season.
All right, Talent, now in the last of your stories. The seventh fastest man in the 200-meter race in the world is Zimbabwe's Machar.
Yes, we are quite proud of Tapio Makarau. You know, he also represented us during the Olympics, and right now he was Zimbabwe's Tapiwanashe Makarau has written his name into the history books after finishing seventh in the men's 200 meters final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, officially ranking him among the fastest sprinters in the world. Makarau clocked 20.21 seconds, a personal best and new Zimbabwean record, as he lined up against the sport's biggest names on Friday night inside Tokyo's National Stadium. The race was won in stunning fashion by American star Noah Lyles, who stormed to victory in 19.52 seconds, and Kenneth Bednarek of the United States was second with a time of 19.58, with Jamaica's Brian Level taking bronze with a 19.64 seconds. So, with the African Games later this year and the Paris 2028 Olympics now firmly in sight, Makarau is being tipped as the face of Zimbabwean sprinting for years to come. So we are quite proud of Tapiwanashe Makarau. As you also know, it was him and Makanaka Aishe Charambwa, who represented us during the World Championships. Unfortunately, Charamba could not proceed to the finals, but he actually got to the semi-finals. So we are quite proud of those two who are putting the Zimbabwean flag on a high pedestal. They're representing us. It's it's these athletics games. So we are quite proud of the two of them.
All right, keep going, Wanawevu, as we like to say, and we certainly hope that he keeps climbing those heights in the 200-meter race. Thank you very much, Talent, for delivering the Zimbabwe report.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Day one of Unstoppable Africa 2025, held alongside the UN General Assembly in New York, convened over 4,000 leaders, policymakers, and innovators to spotlight Africa's role as a global economic architect. Under the UN-backed platform, the forum emphasized actionable strategies for transforming the continent's $3 trillion market potential into tangible influence, focusing on sectors like fintech, renewable energy, agriculture, and the creative economy. Discussions explored local value addition to raw materials, leveraging AfCFTA for intra-African trade, and scaling digital infrastructure to empower youth-led innovation. Keynotes and panels featuring figures such as UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, Namibia's President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, and Botswana's President Duma Gideon Boko stressed Africa's capacity to process critical minerals locally, enhance supply chains, and assert market power rather than remaining a resource exporter. The Global Africa Business Initiative's vibrant video montage shared on X captures the day's dynamic keynotes, panels, and creative energy.
Is a powerful all-year-round platform that supports Africa's private sector so that it can become a powerful force for development in a world that desperately needs new ideas and new solutions.
We're here to connect, to build Africa's place at the top of the global business world, and to send a signal that the future is African.
We're gathered here at the 80th anniversary of the United Nations to continue to rewrite this new narrative for Africa, a narrative that presents the imperative to shift from doing business in Africa to doing business with Africa.
The continent is home to the world's youngest population, abundant renewable energy resources, and extraordinary creativity, from fintech to fashion, from agriculture to artificial intelligence. Our challenge and responsibility is to turn this extraordinary promise into an engine of inclusive and sustainable prosperity in the light of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2063, and the Pact for the Future.
First of all, this was created as a bold idea to set a bold target by a bold time frame. It has to be led by Africa, and that's where the compacts come in.
Start with education. And with digital, we can do this today.
In a multipolar world, we sit with tremendous opportunity. If we are able to hardwire gender equality, digitization, and access to finance, this will uplift and accelerate critical green resources.
African young women and women need to intensify the role they have played in the continent over years.
More than $50 billion in concessional financing commitments that will be required to achieve what those African leaders called Mission 300.
We don't just talk, we take action.
This is how we capture more value and ensure that we are active and strong players in the industry.
We have the opportunity to add value on the continent, not take it out. The optimistic note is that the opportunity
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning, DSTV 285, GOTV 285, 1up2.com, and NTV Africa. Thank you, and make sure you join us tomorrow as we swing into the Botswana report with Rorisang Mohojwe, as well as other stories from broader Africa. Swera Zaganaka.